And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hartunian versus Godbond, step forward, please.
Massage therapist Carla Hartunian is suing political science professor Najib Godbond for medical bills and pain and suffering. Carla says Najib's 10-year-old daughter ran into her with a shopping cart.
Miss Hartunian, who is this lady?
This is my daughter. She was there right after the impact with the shopping cart.
Mr. Godbond, this is your daughter. You're 9?
10.
Okay. According to your complaint, this little girl was shopping at a food store at the same time you were shopping. She was shopping with her father. And there was an accident, and she hit you with the shopping cart that she was rolling in your ankle, back of your ankles. And you are claiming injury to your ankles, to your back, requiring medical care, loss of wages, pain and suffering, etc., to the tune of $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says this was an accident. He's sorry that it happened. He agreed to pay your medical bills if there was a problem, but he thinks that you're trying to scam him.
Yes.
When did this accident happen, Ms. Hartunian?
June 15th, 2003.
And where were you shopping?
In the produce section of Walmart.
And you were shopping in the same place?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was standing still looking at strawberries, Your Honor, and I heard running footsteps. Before I could turn around to see what it was, I was struck in the back and in the ankle. I snapped backwards and went almost down. I was holding my shopping cart, so I did not go all the way down. And the pain was immediate and excruciating.
Okay. Shh, just a second. So you were hit in the buttocks?
Yes, ma'am.
And in the ankle?
Yes, ma'am.
Did either of those two areas bleed?
No, but the ankle...
Just a second. Just answer my question. Did
No,
either
ma'am.
one of those two areas bleed? So the answer is no.
No.
Did you have any black and blue marks on your buttocks?
A small one.
Did you take a photograph?
Not of that.
Did you have any black and blue marks on your ankles?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take any photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the photograph. You can step up because Bert probably had an emergency. You don't look dangerous to me. Thank you. So it wasn't both ankles, it was one ankle.
One ankle.
One ankle that is clearly, it looks as if it's black and blue. So the extent of your injury, visually, was a black and blue ankle. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what happened when you were hit? Did Mr. Godbond come up to you immediately?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He was very nice. He told me he was sorry and wanted to know exactly what happened. I told him. I was crying at the time and in very much pain.
Where were you in pain? In your ankle?
In my ankle, right.
Okay. Go ahead.
He was very, very nice. Over and over, he reiterated, it's going to be fine, it's going to be all right, I'll take care of it. Do you want to go to the doctor? He said, I'm a professor at the university, I'm a responsible person. Don't worry. He said, it's fine, I'll take care of it. Very, very nice.
Good. What happened?
Well, the Walmart people brought me ice and a chair, and I sat down in the chair and put the ice on my ankle. I sat there for about 15 minutes. The pain started subsiding a little bit, and I stood and I saw that the ankle was not broken, that I could put weight on it. So Mr. Godbond said, if you have any trouble, if you need to go to the doctor, I will pay for it. He wrote down his number and his name on the back of my grocery list.
Great. So far he's done everything right. So, I assume you went to a doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume you had medical bills.
Yes, ma'am.
From going to the doctor. So did you call him and tell him about your medical bills?
Yes.
When did you call him?
Maybe less than a week later.
Okay. And?
He was not nice anymore.
Go ahead.
He was very mean and hateful.
Well, just a second. What did you say to him?
I told him that after I got home that night, I began having pains in my back. And the next day when I woke up, I could hardly stand up. It was very, very painful. So I did go to the doctor that day. The doctor did a chiropractic adjustment, did x-rays, told me to ice the back. After I'd gone to the doctor 2 or 3 times...
You're talking about a chiropractic?
Chiropractic and medical, both.
Okay. You have any medical records?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see your medical records from your medical doctor.
Okay. And this.
How did you find the chiropractor?
My daughter had used him before, and he was a very gentle, good chiropractor.
How did you find him? You found him through recommendation?
Through my daughter, yes, ma'am.
And did you, after June 15th, 2003, consult with an attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the attorney take your case?
He was not ready to take the case. He did not refuse the case. He did not take the case. It was in limbo.
You went to see another attorney?
Eventually.
When?
About 6 months later.
So I gather that the doctor that you went to see, not the chiropractor, you consulted after you saw the attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to having this accident with this 9-year-old child, you suffer from scoliosis. According to what you told the doctor, you were symptom-free as a result of your scoliosis, and now you have a backache.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but the only physiological problem that you could see as a result of being hit by this shopping cart was this ankle, correct?
That you could see.
Right. Okay. So when you spoke to Mr. Gadban, how much money did you tell him that you wanted?
I only asked him to pay my medical bills, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's why I couldn't understand
Good.
why.
And what were your medical bills? Let me see what your medical bills are. These are all the medical bills that you have?
I could no longer afford to go after he said he wouldn't pay.
You have $182 for physical therapy rehab. You have $88 for physical therapy rehab and $85 for physical therapy rehab. That's what you asked him to reimburse you for. But now you want $5,000 from Mr. Gadban.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to me. I don't get it.
I am a massage therapist, Your Honor, and for several days after this accident, I could not give massages. I had to cancel appointments.
Okay, show me your book to show me how many appointments you had to cancel for the next few days.
I did not bring my book. I brought affidavits from the people that I canceled with.
I'll see those affidavits.
The quality of my service changed, Your Honor. I couldn't...
You may say that to me. I said you had a massage from there. Okay. You have affidavits here. One of them says that your massage wasn't as smooth. I'm not paying any attention to that. You canceled, according to these affidavits, 2 appointments where you were supposed to make $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's $455. Okay. And?
I would like to continue the treatment. My lumbar vertebrae are still not in the shape they were in before the accident.
I have no idea about that. Show me the x-rays and bring me an expert. Do you have an expert in the x-rays?
I have the letter that I gave you from the chiropractor saying I needed 16 more treatments.
Your chiropractor may say you need 100 more treatments. I don't care. Don't make a big deal about nothing. This happened over a year ago. And if you were that sick and you require treatment, what you do is you get the treatment and you pay for it. You take out a loan if you need it, and then you sue them. But you can't come into court and say, I really would like to take those treatments a year later because I'm really still not feeling well. So far, you had losses of $455, and that's what I think, Mr. Gadban, you should be responsible for. The rest of it, she can't document. And if she can't document it, there's a reason that the attorneys didn't take your case, madam.
I still have pain, Your Honor.
Listen to me. It was an accident in a supermarket with a 9-year-old child.
I know.
It's not your retirement. You are not going to retire on this injury.
I'm not trying
Judgment
to
for the
retire.
plaintiff in the amount of $455. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's a minor accident.
It may have been an accident, but I think that Mr. Godbian needs to teach his child how to act appropriately in public.
I just was not even really power walking,
I still have pain in my back.
pushing the cart, and then all of a sudden this lady just fell to the floor.
My body is my tool.
said, oh, I'm so sorry, what happened?
Now the quality of my service has been compromised.
Plaintiff Donna Peterson is suing her grandson, 21-year-old freezer operator Justin Peterson, for an unpaid loan to pay off his legal bills. Justin says not only did he make payments to his grandmother, but he also did work for her.
Your Honor, this is case number 237 on the calendar in the matter of Peterson versus Peterson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
this is your grandma.
Yes.
Your grandma says that she made some loans to you while you were living with her.
Yes.
Over $3,000?
Yes.
And you say that there was never a loan, And if there was, you gave her some money in cash, and you bartered for some of it by taking care of her and doing her landscaping.
Yes.
When did you go and live with your grandmother?
It was back in February 2003.
Why?
Well, due to divorce situations with my parents, my dad needed a room so my sisters could live with him, and I had to go.
You weren't having trouble with your father, were you?
No.
So when you realized that you had to find another place to live, did you call your grandmother?
No.
Well, how did it come about that you went to live with her?
I went on my own, and I was in my car for a little bit.
You were in your car?
Yes.
Why were you in your car?
Because I didn't want to beg anyone. I didn't want to ask anyone to do anything.
How were you supporting yourself?
I was going store to store with getting pop cans.
Well, why weren't you working?
I was previously laid off from another job.
How long hadn't you worked?
Since October of '02.
Well, maybe that's why your father told you to get out.
No.
Your grandmother said yes. So your grandmother volunteered to take you in?
I had a cell phone that was about to expire and stuff. She called me on it and was wondering where I was. She didn't want me to... She was basically saying, I don't want you to live on the car. I thought you were going to come live with me. I was like, okay, I will.
Is that what happened?
No, I hadn't had any contact with Justin. Nobody had. And I was very worried about him. And he showed up on my doorstep. I just accepted that he would come and stay with me.
Now tell me about these loans that you claim you made to your grandson.
Okay, he got a job through some friends of mine.
Great. Starting when?
I'm not positive.
February 5th.
Great.
03.
So practically right away.
Yes.
It was before I moved in.
Go ahead.
No, you already lived with me, Justin. Anyway, he owed quite a few bills. His car needed work. He was driving without a license, without insurance, and he was picked up once that I know of, and his car taken away, and I think they took him away too, and his father got him out. So I asked him to make a list of what he owed, and we worked out together what the loan would be. And I have a copy of the original check was $3,500.
May I see it, please? So he sat down and made a list of what all of his bills were.
Yes. And we supposedly paid off everything he owed.
So that was in July of 2003. You paid off all your debts.
Yeah, that I knew of.
Great. How much did you pay back?
I started paying small increments. Work was starting to get unstable. There was one time where I had a layoff period of 6 weeks.
And what did you do during that 6-week period?
I used unemployment, but it was very little, and I was barely holding on to keeping the insurance that I had.
How much rent were you paying to your grandmother?
$200 a month.
Is that right?
Yes, however, the first 3 months, I didn't ask him to pay anything so he could save money to get an apartment.
So how did you pay her back?
For those first 3 months, all the money that I couldn't save, I was putting towards what was being collected upon me from collection agencies, Verizon, and other companies. And I was basically being swallowed and just trying to keep up.
Well, that's why she gave you this $3,500
Yeah,
to
that came 3
consolidate
months
everything
later.
so you could pay it all off and then pay her back regularly in a smaller increment. How much did you pay her back?
Well, I've got records here of what I have paid her.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. This is when I recently got employed, and like agreements we made verbally that I would pay what I can when I could, and at least the minimum.
Well, you have down here $720.
Yes.
And I see that the payments didn't start here until May of 2004.
Yeah. That was
Why is that?
Well, that was when I moved to Umatilla for work.
But, Your Honor, also, I got one of the bills, the statements from the credit card company, and there was a $250...
What credit card company? You gave him a check.
Yes, I did, but it's from a Chase Manhattan Bank. It's from a credit card company.
I see. So they took this right off a credit card.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I got a $250 charge on the credit card, and he said that he had a bill that he had overlooked. I had given him a signed check from the credit card company because they send you blank checks.
So he said you would sign the check and gave it to him?
Yes, he did. And
Did you?
no, I didn't.
You mean he told you that you would sign the blank check?
Yes. And anyway, I didn't argue with him because he's always right. So I called the credit company and asked them for a copy of the check because I knew I hadn't given him a check and signed it.
Can I see it, please?
It was a check that he had forged. And he had said, well...
Just a second. What do you have to say about that, Justin?
I'd gotten a notice from Verizon for my cell phone that had expired, and I had $350 still left in the bank, and I needed a little extra to do that. I called her on the phone. She was kind of slurring her words, which I figured she'd been drinking, and she said, okay.
So she is correct that you forged her name to the check.
I signed it, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her grandson, Justin Peterson, owes for a loan to pay his bills. Justin says his grandmother is a drinker.
You forged her name to the check.
Yes, I signed it.
She didn't turn you in, did she?
No.
When did you tell your grandmother exactly how much you wrote out this check for?
Afterwards, she confronted me about it later. I figured she already knew because I'd called her. And
when did you leave your grandmother's house?
Late January, early February of 2004.
Tell me about that.
She was in Palm Springs, and we were having troubles. Every time I'd come home, it was Justin, 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 and I'm just trying to get by.
Justin, 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 what?
She would confront me about, you need to do more, you need to do more, you need to pay more, and it's like, I'm trying. And what we agreed upon was making at least the minimum as long as there wasn't a negative mark.
Well, you hadn't paid anything, Justin. You showed me what you paid. You hadn't been paying anything. Not a minimum, not anything, for months.
I had also done work for her, which she agreed upon.
So tell me about that, Justin.
Well, she was complaining about the lawn. I offered, Grandma, since I'm not able to get you as much, I could do the lawn for you. I could have it done in one day.
Try not to look at the walls, Justin. Try to look at me when you're testifying.
I'm just recalling, Your Honor.
Well, try to recall while you're looking at me.
Okay. Well, I was trying to find ways.
No, you're right. Are you cross-eyed?
No.
Then look at me.
I was trying to get the balance covered and stuff, and I knew I was getting close to missing more. And I went to
right here,
I
Justin.
went to a friend. I was just overlooking this.
You don't have to look at anything. Tell the truth. You should be able to remember it.
I am.
Okay.
I went and purchased a bunch of sod. My buddy had come over too, Chris.
What month was this in, Justin?
I don't remember the exact month.
Well, I
it was
would
like
like
July
you to...
or August.
Of what year?
Of 2003.
I want you to think about whether it was July or August of 2003.
I just remember it was a really hot day.
And what you're telling me, Justin, is you had fallen behind in the payments.
I was coming close to, yes.
But previous to that, you had made the payments.
Yes.
How many payments had you made previous to that?
Well, I'd given her bigger amounts of money, like $200, $250. One time she wrote, well, I gave her the checks. And
so that was before you were doing the landscaping?
Yes.
All right, now let me explain something to you, Justin, my dear. According to what you just said to me, and I want to make sure that I'm getting this right, Officer Byrd, Justin says that he did some work for his grandmother in order to pay off his debt to her. Some landscaping work in July or August of 2003. He said that previous to that, he had been up to date in his payments. That's what you said.
Yes.
That's what he said. My problem with that, Officer Byrd, could you just take a look at this check and tell me the date of the check of his grandmother's for $3,500?
7/10/2003.
So what you're telling me, Justin, is before your grandmother gave you this check for $3,500 in mid-July of 2003, you started paying the credit card company back? Is that what you're telling me?
I made a plural mistake, yes.
You made a big mistake! Because you may be trying to get over on me that something's wrong with your grandmother's mind, but I got news for you. Nothing is wrong with mine. And certainly nothing is wrong with Officer Petrie Hawkins Byrd. So when somebody lends you money and someone extends themselves, puts money on a credit card so that you can have a clean slate, because that's what your grandmother did, you don't turn around and kick them in the behind by standing there and telling a whole bunch of lies. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,200. That's all. Get out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm I'm not mad at my grandson. I'm hoping this will help him to mature and be responsible for himself.
I tried being good with my grandma. I did have problems.
The world doesn't owe you a living. You've got to pay your way.
Trying to look like a saint who got screwed.
I hope that it helps him to mature and be responsible for himself.
Shelley Krantz is suing her ex-husband, 26-year-old construction worker Thomas Lupersbeck, for 2 separate loans to pay court fines and restitution. Thomas says Shelley has already been paid back.
Yes, this is case number 454 on the calendar in the matter of Krantz versus Lupersbeck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Krantz, this is your former husband, and according to your complaint, subsequent to your divorce, you made 2 loans to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Both were for court fines or tickets or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
And neither of those loans have been repaid.
No, ma'am.
The defendant says that you did, in fact, advance him the money in form of a loan, and he paid you back. And he says that the second chunk of money that you gave him to pay tickets or something so that he could get his license back was just a gift, and he's also prepared to establish that. So, when were you married and when were you divorced, Ms. Krantz?
We were married on October the 10th of 2003.
And when were you divorced?
The divorce papers are stated April the 27th of 2004.
And when was the first loan?
June the 21st of 2004. And I do have where he signed a note that he would pay me back the money.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. Also attached with that is the way that I proceeded to get the money. He was in jail at the time for not paying fines and restitutions.
Just a second.
Things
Wait a second.
stolen.
Shh. Okay, were you in jail in June of 2004?
Most definitely.
When did you get out of jail?
Like the beginning of July. She came and posted a bond for me. It was a $2,200 cash bond.
And you signed this that you owe her $23.33.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to that, you say you paid her back.
Yes, ma'am.
How come you called your former wife for the money? You were divorced?
We were planning on trying to work things out. We'd been talking on the phone while I was in jail. I would have been there probably 4 years if I had not made that bond. She was pretty much the only person I knew that would help me.
Okay. So you were pretty desperate.
It was probably more than desperate. I mean, I wanted to be with her and wanted to, be a family again. But I mean, yeah, she was the only place.
What were you in jail for, sir?
I had stolen some things, and I had violated my probation for that by not paying my fines and court costs and all that.
Now, show me, Mr. Lupersbeck, that you paid her back.
What I have is my check stubs that my bosses wrote me for that period of time, and I have my supervisor at the job that was there on 2 occasions. She came and personally got my check. I signed it, she got it. And then when I went back to jail, she picked up my last paycheck, and he can testify that he was there and saw that.
Your Honor, I will state that when we were together, he would contribute to bills, but certainly never repaying any of the money that I had loaned him.
Did you ever go and get money from his supervisor?
There was one occasion where I picked up a paycheck. After he had went to jail in August, I picked up an $84 paycheck from his job. He
Only one paycheck?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the only time you went?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Nebojša Kovacevic.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
Were you his supervisor?
Yes, at that time.
Tell me what you know about these paychecks.
I know at 2 occasions that she came on Fridays and he signed the paychecks, and gave it to her. And the last, when he went to jail, the last paycheck, my brother gave it out to her because he called from jail and told me to give her the last check.
Now, what about the 2 other times that you say you saw him?
Yeah, yes, I saw him sign the paycheck and hand it to her.
Where were you living at the time, sir?
When I got the loan, I got out of jail, moved directly in with Ms. Krantz.
How long did you live with her?
It was not very long.
Tell me how long. When did you get out of jail? You got out of jail
it was
in
a month long.
July?
Yes, ma'am, and in August I was back in jail, so it was
Go ahead.
about 3 weeks.
I made the loan for him on June the 21st. I paid his fines and restitutions to get him out of jail. He could not get out of jail until they were paid.
He was
the very
not,
next
just
day,
a second, he was not living with you at the time?
No, ma'am, he was in jail.
Okay, so then he got out of jail.
And he was arrested for domestic assault the very next day.
On who?
On me.
How long did he live with you after that?
From the time that I made the loan to him to the time that he moved out of my home completely was, I say, about a month, maybe.
And how much money do you claim you gave her, sir, in your paychecks?
Ma'am, since I've known her...
No, I don't care since you know her. I'm talking about for that 1 month.
Every dime it says I made. Since I've known her, I've signed every paycheck I've ever made, and she has deposited in her account.
Listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you.
$2,308. And after I was arrested for domestic assault, my boss came and bonded me out, and I went and stayed with him.
Did he sign his checks over to you and did they go into a joint account?
No, ma'am. I had my own personal private account. Thomas never was on my account. He was not able to be on my account.
No, that's not what I asked.
Okay. No, ma'am, he did not. No.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a stay-at-home mother. I have a special education child, and I stay at home.
Well, who supports your family?
I get a Social Security check for my son's disability, and I also get alimony from my first 13-year marriage.
Okay. Let me hear about the next loan that you allegedly made to him.
Mr. Luperspeck got out of jail December the 13th of 2004.
Was that for domestic violence?
It was for a probation violation because of the domestic violence.
Against her?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Mr. Luperspeck got out of jail on December the 13th, in which he called me, stated that he had nowhere to stay, nowhere to go. He wanted to come back home. I allowed that to happen. I know that he owed me money from before. I figured if I didn't let him come back home and help him...
Don't even say that. You said that in your complaint.
Well, that was...
I don't believe it. When he came back home, did he sleep with you in your bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it was...
Shut! That's not to give him a place to stay. Giving him a place to stay is that he has a pillow and you go sleep on the couch. Letting him come home and share your bed is a totally different thing, Miss Krantz. You know it and I know it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I was just in love, and I was
Well,
foolish.
then you have to say that, you know. I mean, that's clear. You were in love with him?
And I was foolish.
Well, then why are you bothering me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Shelley Krantz says her ex-husband, Thomas Lupersbeck, owes for 2 loans to pay court fines and restitution. Shelley also says Thomas is an abuser.
Okay. You were foolish. You were in love. You gave him money.
I did.
Then you had a fight, and he probably knocked you around, and you had him incarcerated, and then he was violated again, and then as soon as he got out of jail, you let him come back again in December to your home where you have children, where children are supposed to be peaceful and live in a peaceful, quiet environment.
At that time, my daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father because of the things that had happened between Mr. Lupersbeck and I.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
Well, that's what happens. It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum. Fall in love with a bum, you can lose your whole family.
I realize that.
That would be you.
No, it wouldn't.
You may have a seat, sir. Yeah, that would be you.
Ma'am, I've worked every day since I've met this lady, and I was sleeping in my car before we were married and giving her my paycheck. I don't consider that being a bum so that her and her family can eat.
Just a second, sir. How did she get involved with the arrest that brought you 2 probation violations? Who'd you steal from her?
No, sir, ma'am. It was an employer that was refusing to pay me.
You mean an employer that was refusing to pay you? A judge wouldn't listen to you when you were trying to get your money from that employer? Look at you, Mr. Lubitschek. You can't even keep a straight face.
I didn't even try to go through a court. I just took what I felt he owed me.
Did that ever happen before, Mr. Lupersbeck?
No, ma'am.
Never were arrested before?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't have anything to do with that, did she?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So how many times in total, I want you to think? How old are you?
26.
26. So you haven't had that long a life. How many times have you been arrested? Let's say more than 5?
15.
15. So you've been arrested 15 times. And how many times was she involved?
Twice.
Twice out of 50. So 13 times she was not. That makes you a bum.
Sure.
Just because you try to pay your own way and pay a little rent money doesn't make you not a bum. Somebody who's 26 years old has been arrested 15 times is a bum. That's what my grandmother would say.
She's entitled to her opinion.
It's my opinion's the only one who counts here. Listen to me, Ms. Krantz. Give me the second loan. He came out of jail in December of 2004. You took him back home. I assume it was at that point your daughter went to your ex-husband, or before?
No, ma'am, that was in June.
In June of 2004?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so she had enough of him 6 months before.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's fast forward to December 2004. Go ahead.
He came home. He was placed on intensive state probation. Part of his probation was that he was to get his license back and retain a job. So he asked if I would help him get his license reinstated. He promised me several times that if I paid this for him, that he would pay me back. He informed me that there were 2 tickets that he had to get paid.
All right, so you gave him how much, $800?
It was over $800.
All right, and then what happened after the 15th?
Shortly thereafter, we began to argue. Thomas still had a problem finding a job.
And?
We began to argue because he wouldn't get a job, and he wouldn't pay me back the money that he owed me.
Is that what you were arguing about?
We were arguing because that's what we do. I guess that was one of the topics of conversation, sure.
Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I went and sat in the living room on the chair, and when the argument continued, I left.
What was she saying to you?
After about the first 10 minutes, I don't even know. I wasn't listening.
Is it possible she was saying to you, you have to get a job because you have to pay me back the money you owe me?
She did say that, and that's something that we already knew, but it was wintertime. I frame houses for a living, and framing jobs aren't so easy to find in the wintertime.
Well, this makes my life much easier, because you see what you just said, Mr. Luberspeck? You said that's what we were arguing about, you know, about the money that I owed her. But, you know, it's not so easy in the wintertime to get a job framing, and that's what I do for a living. So you know what that is, Mr. Luberspeck?
What is it?
That is an acknowledgement that you owe her money.
Your Honor.
Shut up!
Sorry.
That's what it is. You must have been before a lot of dumb judges in your time, sir.
Not that I know of.
Somebody who's been arrested and probably convicted more than half a dozen times, as far as I'm concerned, should probably be in jail forever. Listen to me carefully, sir. Did you give him a W-2 for his taxes?
Your Honor, it's a different form.
It's a different
1099.
Okay, so you gave him a 1099.
Yes, he's got that.
You have a short time to fill out your taxes, sir.
Correct, ma'am. April 15th.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,195, which is the amount requested. I don't believe, Mr. Luberspeck, that you paid back this loan. Your final statement to me indicates that the last argument that you had with the plaintiff was over this loan. You decided to tune her out on the 15th of December. I tune you out now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We can't communicate because both of us are hard-headed and didn't want to listen to the other one.
I'm just very hurt that I gave the defendant so many chances and tried to help him so much, and he still denied the fact that he owed me the money.
I love her very much.
I care about him, but I think I'm going to make smarter decisions from now on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lester versus Lester. Step forward, please.
Marilee and Thomas Lester are suing their daughter, 22-year-old food server Natasia Lester, for the unpaid balance on a 97 Saturn. Natasia claims her parents took the car away from her.
Mr. and Mrs. Lester, this is your daughter. How old are you?
22.
According to your complaint, you co-signed for a car for your daughter about 2 years ago. And the agreement was that she was to make the payments on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did make payments on the car for 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And then something happened. She was in an accident. And according to you, she just stopped making payments on the car. She said her insurance lapsed and she stopped making payments on the car. You want the car payments because
Yes, ma'am.
you don't want your credit to be ruined. Your daughter says that she made the payments for 2 years, and I assume that she intended to keep on making the payments, but that you had the car towed from her place of employment to your house, and she no longer has the car.
That is true.
So then I guess a lot of this has to do with timeline, why you're suing your child, I don't even want to get into. But you purchased the car when, Natasia?
In September of 2002?
May I see the paperwork? Do you have the paperwork?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
You want just the contract or just all of the paperwork? Here's the contract.
Good luck.
Yes, that's very small. It was faxed over.
I couldn't find the original.
What were your payments, Natasia?
$188.57.
And you made the payments from September 2002 until when?
Until August of 2004.
When was the accident?
It was in September of 2004.
And what did you do with the car?
I left it at my place of employment, trying to get it fixed. I had made arrangements with a friend of mine that worked there, and he was going to help me get it fixed.
What was wrong with the car?
I ran over a tire on the freeway, and the extent of the damage, I'm not quite sure exactly. I know the radiator was busted. It was undrivable. I had to have it towed.
And according to your parents, you let the insurance lapse on the car.
Yes, I had.
Why is that?
Just making payments for other things, and I know that I shouldn't have, but it got lapsed. That was on my own fault. I let that happen.
Now, you did in fact tow the car.
Yes.
Yes, I put it on a trailer and took it to my house.
And then you went over to speak to her.
Yes.
Well, tell me about the conversation.
I just asked her how she was doing and what happened, and she's told me she couldn't. She swerved trying to avoid a tire, and then she just kept driving the car because she didn't want to stop. Then I said, well, are you okay? She says, yes, I'm fine.
Okay.
And then I just went back to my work, and I was talking to my guys at work what to do with the car. And I said, well, I'll have to bring it over to my shop and check it out to see what really needs to be done. I had no knowledge that she was going to have anything to do with getting it fixed with anybody over there.
Well, didn't you ask her?
No, I did not at that time.
Why not?
I figured, well, I'll just take it to my house. That way I can take care of it, get it fixed, and we can get it back on the road.
Mr. Lester, you just precipitously took her car away. You can't do that.
The car's still in my name too, ma'am.
You can't do that, sir.
She said that there's no need to make the payments now that the car's wrecked. So she told me.
No, you just made that up as you're going.
No, ma'am.
I assume you're fixing it, right?
No, I'm not fixing it.
Well, I suggest you do.
I can't because I didn't have the money.
I suggest, Mr. Lester, that you fix it because you had a contract with your daughter, and you breached that contract when you towed the car without her consent or permission, without having a discussion with her, back to your home. Now, I don't know what else was going on between you and your daughter, but clearly that's not the way family treats family.
Can I go ahead and say something? After we went ahead and had the car towed to our home, she made no contact whatsoever to go ahead and say, you know, what can I do? I know I didn't make the insurance payments. Why, I mean...
I didn't make the car payments.
Didn't make the car payments.
Just a second. Don't say she didn't make the car payments. She did make the car payments. She's not obligated to make the car payments now that you have the car in your possession.
The only reason I towed the car is because my boss, he gets upset when crash vehicles are in his parking lot.
We couldn't leave it in that yard, and she wouldn't.
Then you have a discussion with your daughter. You just don't take it.
She was not at work the next day.
Mr. Lester, Mrs. Lester, you got a lot of excuses. I don't know what problem you have with your daughter. It has nothing to do with this car. Your case is dismissed. You have the car. Fix it and sell it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She doesn't agree with my lifestyle, and I can't have anybody like that in my life.
When she notified me saying that her and her girlfriend had gotten married and that she was no longer going to have anything to do with me, I was very concerned with that.
She had become a stalker, and I just felt that I didn't want her in my life anymore, and she didn't agree with that, so I had to go for a restraining order.
I have no problem with her lifestyle. I don't like her girlfriend.
She makes little comments. It's not something that she says directly, but she makes little comments, you know, here and there.
If she wants to go ahead and believe that, fine. But I love my daughter very much, and she's, you know, I just want her to be happy.
Something that could have been fixed, and it's gone way out of proportion now.
Plaintiffs Lisa and Stuart Weaver are suing their would-be wedding minister, Sandra Weisner, for punitive damages due to emotional distress. The Weavers claim Sandra was late and missed their wedding.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Weaver versus Weisner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Weaver, according to your complaint, you hired the defendant to perform your wedding ceremony, and you paid her $150?
Yes.
And Ms. Weisner didn't come to the ceremony. She came about an hour late after you called her. She gave you your money back, $150, and did what she had to do because somebody else had performed the ceremony, so she signed the marriage certificate. She apologized, she gave you back your money, and now you want tons of money for your aggravation.
I don't want tons.
Well, you paid her $150, and you're suing her for $1,000.
Yep.
First of all, she didn't apologize.
Well, she apologized by giving you back your money.
That doesn't make up for keeping a room full of people waiting. I mean, when it's your wedding day, that's the last thing you think of is that your preacher's not going to show up.
Terrible.
Yep. And then she sits in an 8-by-8 room waiting for her to come in. It just...
Mr. Weaver, I'm going to let you do the entire thing. You contacted her. The wedding was supposed to take place when and what time?
December 30th at 6:30 p.m.
And she didn't show up. She wasn't there at 6:30, so you called her.
Right.
And what time did you call her?
I got right here on my cell phone bill. It was 6:34. I called.
And did you get her on the phone?
No, left a message.
Okay, and then what happened?
I tried her cell phone at 6:44.
And did you get her?
No,
Go
left a
ahead.
message. Then I tried again at 6:57.
Okay,
Got a hold of her.
good. And what did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I said, Miss Weisner, Stu Weaver, aren't you supposed to be somewhere about now? And she goes, oh my God, was that tonight? And I go, yes, I think it was. And she goes, well, I've had travel problems. And I said, I don't hear about your travel problems. I have people here from Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Florida. She goes, well, we got laid over in Atlanta. And I said, so this is what you call taking $150 of the money and run. She goes, oh my, don't say that. And I says, we have someone we think that'll perform the ceremony.
And who was that?
That was a co-worker of Lisa's.
Well, how could she perform the ceremony?
She is an ordained minister for her church.
Oh, good.
But she is not recognized by the state of Ohio.
Okay, but she's an ordained minister for the church, and
Yes,
she's
ma'am.
performed.
And she did not get there until about 7 o'clock herself.
But she was a guest.
Yes, she was a guest.
We have,
She had never performed a wedding before.
Okay, she was a guest. She got there at 7. You asked her to perform the wedding.
Yes.
What time was the ceremony performed?
Let's say about 7:15.
Okay. And how many people did you have at the wedding?
Between 80 and 85.
Now, you told Miss Weisner to come because she had to sign the certificate.
I asked if she could come and sign the marriage certificate.
And what did she say?
She says, well, I don't think I can make it tonight. Can we arrange it tomorrow? And I says, well, yeah, if you can fly to Hawaii tomorrow, because we leave at 5:30 in the morning for Hawaii.
Okay, and what did she say?
He hauled around a little bit. Of course, she was ill like I am today. And she goes, well, I will be there when I can get there.
And what time did she arrive?
I think it was around 9:30.
And what did she do when she arrived at 9:30?
Well, she come in the door and we filled out the form and she signed a marriage certificate and then she handed over a check.
And what did she say when she handed over the check?
She says it's the first time in 12 years. This has never happened in 12 years.
Okay, and you took the check?
Yes.
Good. What happened to your travel plans?
We had planned a trip out here to be with family at Christmas time, and it truly was the trip to hell and back. We ended up our first night out spending the night on the airport floor in Cincinnati, and finally made it to California. Everything absolutely went wrong through the whole trip. We got on the plane on December 29th. We were to have been home that night. We ended up being stuck in Atlanta that night. We didn't get back until December 30th in the afternoon. In the meantime, I got very ill, and the stress of the trip and everything, I just went right to bed, thinking that I know I have a ceremony the day after we get home, and I was in such a muddle that it didn't occur to me that that was the day. I was thinking it was the next day.
Okay. You got there at 9:30?
No.
What time did you get there?
I didn't get there any later than 7:30 because I was home by 8 o'clock, back in bed.
And how far do you live from where the wedding was?
About 15 minutes.
Okay. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Weaver, you got married that day, correct?
Yes.
And you were married by 7:15.
Yes.
45 minutes after the invitations said that the wedding was going to take place, because the invitations called for 6:30.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. That is right.
Okay. Everybody knows when invitations read 6:30, wedding usually starts about a half hour later.
No. 6:30 is when
No,
the wedding.
that's not what I'm saying to you, sir.
Well, Miss Weisner,
I'm speaking. All I want you to tell me is what you're suing for. I want to hear what you're suing for.
Okay, we're suing for. Here we go. We had to pay the DJ, which I have evidence of, an extra $150.
Good.
And I have my future wife in an 8x8 bathroom for 45 minutes.
not knowing if we're going to have a wedding or
So,
not.
yeah,
We have a
you're
room
right.
full of people. She was supposed to be there at 6 p.m. to do a rehearsal. She said if you don't have a formal rehearsal the night before, that she requires that you be there 30 minutes prior to the start of the ceremony to go do a walkthrough. Well, we had none of that. And she's talking about a stressful trip. We had a very, very stressful wedding.
I understand that. I understand. How do you put
But she
it
didn't
down?
even say she was sorry that
I
night.
did.
Not
I
to me.
apologize profusely. You wouldn't
We have
even.
witnesses.
You
Don't-
wouldn't
do me
even
a favor,
look at
don't.
me
Lisa.
for me to apologize.
If you're
to
going to, don't speak to each other.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Now, Mrs. Weaver, I can understand your stress, but I don't understand why you choose to prolong that stress by instituting a lawsuit for $1,000 for stress when you got married, and whether it was from 7:15 or 7:45 until the wedding was over, I assumed that you danced together because you had a DJ. I assumed that you had dinner. I assumed that you conversed with friends. I assumed that you told this story innumerable times that the minister didn't show up for your wedding. You know, that will make a good story for you to tell 20 years from now. What I don't understand is why you choose to prolong whatever stress you had by bringing on a lawsuit. I could understand it if she didn't give you your money back. But she came and without even you asking, she handed you back your check, which indicates to me that she felt terrible about what had happened.
We still feel that we should have had a phone call.
She didn't even
call. She had
call.
all 3 numbers to call and say, hey, I'm not
She just said to you, sir, she got into bed and she really thought in her own mind that the wedding was scheduled for the day after she got back. It was a big mistake. And according to you, you said to me, when you got her on the phone, she said to you, oh, is that today? Which pretty much is what she says, that she thought it was the next day. How could she have called you? What was she supposed to do, call you and tell you, I think I have a wedding tomorrow? She made a mistake. Mistakes don't always comport
but in
with
that
lawsuits.
profession, that's not a mistake.
Ever make a mistake?
Yes.
Ever not get to where you're supposed to get on time?
Yes.
Did your boss dock you
Yes.
because you made a mistake? How would you feel if he turned around and sued you for his aggravation for an additional $1,000? Just a minute. I'm asking you a question. Would you think that your boss was out of order if he turned around and said, you know, I had a lot of people on my tail because you didn't get there on time, so in addition to docking you, I'm going to sue you for $1,000 or $2,000 for my aggravation? Would you think he was stupid?
He could do that, I guess.
I said, would you think he was stupid?
No.
Sure you would. And I think
No.
similarly. Case is dismissed. That's all.
All these are excuses. You may step out.
I told you not to come on this show.
Really, the main thing that I wanted, it was the principle of the thing. An apology would have been nice that night.
I did apologize profusely, but Mrs. Weaver would not make eye contact with me and would not speak to me.
It was terrible. I'm in this little room and there's no preacher there.
Panic, yeah. Panic's the word.
I think people create their own disasters and their own problems, and they need to take life as it comes.
Assistant Director of Human Resources, Naheed McGowan, is suing hair salon owner Manouk Kasabian for damaging her hair and scalp during a Japanese hair straightening process. Naheed also claims Manouk is guilty of sexual misconduct.
Yeah, this is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of McGowan versus Kasabian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. McGowan, it is your claim that the defendant, who either owns or works in a beauty salon, straightened your hair, and he did so in an unprofessional manner, causing your hair to fall out and become dry, et cetera, et cetera. And in addition, you claim that he was unprofessional in the way he spoke to you during the course of his hair treatment. You want him to compensate you for all that you went through in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Kasabian says that he performed a service for you. He did so in a professional manner. And as a good businessman, when you came in and complained, he gave you a partial refund, but he certainly doesn't owe you any more. That's your defense.
That's right.
Okay. What kind of process were you putting on your hair, Miss McGowan?
Well, I actually went in to have my hair. It's called Japanese hair straightening. And I went in.
Had you ever had this Japanese hair straightening before?
No.
What prompted you to do it?
I had a curly hair, so I wanted to just kind of save time getting ready in the morning because I have a small child. So that's why I wanted to do this process.
How did you find the defendant's salon?
Well, actually, where I live, that's where his salon is. And then I actually went to post office and I saw this huge sign. It says Japanese hair straightening. And I haven't seen that particular sign anywhere. So I assumed that he knows what he's doing.
So you went into his shop based upon the sign and based upon the fact that he was conveniently located?
Correct.
All right. Go ahead. Tell me what happened.
And I went in and I saw Mr. Caspian, and I asked him how much it would cost for have this process done, and he said it's about $300. I said, well, that is a little bit over my budget, and he says, well, I'm not busy right now, so I would do it for you for $250. And I said, do you have time now? And he said, yes. I said, that's fine. And then immediately, you know, I was sat on a chair, and then his assistant, Barry, started putting chemical on my hair. And then she proceeded to tell me, well, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable, this process. I said, how's that? She says, well, you have to go through a process of putting, put you under hot steaming cap, and then we have to rinse your hair with a very cold water. I said, okay. And she says, you have to go through this process at least 3 times. At this time, I was like really afraid, but I had chemical in my hair, so I sat there and I endured. And then after she was done with everything, she proceeded to tell me, well, your hair is like really uneven because now that you have your hair straightened. And then Mr. Caspian came over and he proceeded to cut my hair, and then I was wearing a cap, one of those robes they give you when you're going through the hair processing thing. And then I noticed that my chest was kind of showing, and then he was looking through the mirror. And I immediately, as soon as I realized that, I covered myself. And then he proceeded to ask me whether I was married. And I said yes. And then he says, oh, I hear you have an accent. Where are you from? And I said, well, I'm Persian. And then he says, well, I hear the Middle Eastern women, they're really good in bed. And they cook and they clean and bring home money and they give really good service to their husband. Do you do that for your husband? And I was like really shocked by this time, and I tried to keep my composure. I was so upset at this time.
Why didn't you just tell him it's none of his business?
Well, Your Honor, as a child, I was sexually assaulted. And then this whole situation, when you're sexually assaulted by anyone, when you're a child, the whole thing came up for me. And I was very upset at that time. I was actually retrieving. I was thinking, okay, this is not happening to me as a grown woman. And I was very upset. And then he proceeded to tell his assistant, pointing at this one woman, and he says, oh, she's very pretty. And then he pointed at her butt, and he said that I'd like to have some of that. And then I was just so shocked. And meanwhile, I'm like totally seeing my hair is just, I'm so upset about my hair, and this whole thing is happening. And then I asked his assistant, I said, is he married? And she proceeded to tell me yes. I said, and he goes, well, he also has a kid. I said, does that make you uncomfortable? He makes comments like that. And she proceeded to tell me, well, you just get used to it. And then they also told me that I have to buy some products in order to have the special,
All right, so far, listen to me, Ms. McGowan. So far, I don't hear lawsuit, madam. I hear you didn't have a nice experience, but I don't hear lawsuit.
Okay.
So far, what I'm hearing is you went in to get your hair processed. You'd never had this process before. You didn't ask enough questions. When they straightened your hair, it was uneven because certainly curly hair is cut differently than straight hair, so he cut your hair. And while he was cutting your hair, if I believe everything that you say, he acted like an idiot. He said things that were inappropriate. Okay, inappropriate doesn't equate to lawsuit.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Inappropriate translates to, he says stupid things.
Right.
You're married. Do you cook? Do you clean? Do you service your husband? I hear women from where you are do that. If I believe you, and he's going to tell me it didn't happen, I'm sure, right?
Exactly, it did not happen.
Okay, but if I believe you, madam, that's not a lawsuit.
Exactly.
So then let's get on to the lawsuit, please.
Okay. When I got home, I had a massive headache. I actually had my scalp starting to feel really raw, and I called urgent care. So I went to see a doctor.
Let me see the report from urgent care.
This is the urgent care, and the receipt. They gave me Vicodin. They told me.
Just. Are you showing me something from a psychiatrist?
Well, I'm showing you a couple of things. The very first page is from urgent care. I have a very bad headache, and my scalp was completely raw, and that's why they put me on Vicodin, which I've never taken before.
Okay.
And then after that, I couldn't sleep for 3 consecutive days and called my primary physician, and he asked me to go to psychotherapist. And that's what you see, is a psychotherapist.
What else?
And then during this time, I actually went to another beauty salon who they knew how to retrieve my hair, and these are the costs. That I have the receipt, and also some of the product that I had to get to.
I don't hear anything wrong with your hair.
My hair is chemically burned, Your Honor.
Are you telling me that less than a month after this treatment, you went to another hair salon and had hair color, highlights, and a deep conditioner?
That's
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Madam, listen to me very carefully. Common sense suggests that If your hair is burned because you've had it straightened or because you've had it curled and have a permanent, and if it's not in good condition, the one thing you don't do is put more chemicals on it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Shahid McGowan says hair salon owner Manu Kasabian owes for damaging her hair during a Japanese hair straightening process.
I'm ready to listen to you, Mr. Kasabian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, Your Honor, this lady, she walks into the salon like a month before she came back in. She said she saw the sign and she wanted to have like some knowledge about the way it's done. So I took the time and I explained to her from A to Z how it's done. So she left. Came back a month later, she just walked in. No
lying.
appointment, nothing.
You're
Listen,
completely
Miss
lying.
McGowan, Miss McGowan, look at me. Don't speak. Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? And you were testifying for 12 minutes? Listen! Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying? He didn't say anything. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't tell me shy, don't tell me whatever brings back. I'm not interested. I want you to be quiet and let him testify. You had your turn. We understand each other?
Yes.
Okay, so she came in once, then she came back again July 13th.
So she came back the second time. She just walks in, no appointment, nothing. She says, I made up my mind, I want my hair done. I go, okay, sure, I'm not that busy, I'll do it for you now. So we started working on her. My assistant started to work on her, and then I came and I did the chemical straightening myself. During this time, I look at her hair, and her hair is like very uneven. So I said, can I trim it for you, fix it up? She said yes, so I went ahead and I cut it for her. And then she's saying that I'm looking at her hair through the mirror. How am I going to look at her breast, Your Honor? She has a cape on it, she's covered up. And then she paid for her hair, she was very happy, she left. Now 3 days later, she comes back in by herself. I'm very busy at the salon, I had like about 5 people we're working on. And she says to me, my hair is fuzzy, I need to talk to you. So I look at her from a distance, I go, come closer, let me look. My hands are full of color. I'm working on this lady here.
Which lady?
Miguera.
You were
She's
a
my
customer?
client.
Yes. Just a customer?
Yes, Your
Step up. Tell me your name.
Mayada Cillian.
Do you recall being in the shop, being a customer in the shop on the day when Miss McGowan came in?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't know him from any other place other than the salon?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you heard.
Well, he was coloring my hair at the time that the lady walked in, and she was complaining about her hair being fuzzy. And to look at it, and he tells her, well, it went under chemical process. It's going to take time for your hair to rejuvenate, but it looks fine to me. You can't wash it until 5 days, but it could be touched up with a blow dryer or straight ironing. And she goes, well, I don't have a straight ironing. He goes, well, I know you don't have it, but we sell it here. They sell it everywhere else. If you'd like to purchase one, it's fine. Or you can just touch it up with a blow dryer. And she was still unhappy. She was complaining and started talking loud to him.
What did she say?
She said, well, that was not professional. I'm not happy at all with my hair, and you're really not giving me the attention. He says, if you want to take an appointment, I can condition your hair for you, give it back some moisture. You're more than welcome to come back. But now I can't do anything. I'm with a client. I am sorry that you feel that way. She walks out unhappy and leave and come back maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes later with her husband doing another big scene.
Well, what happened when she came back with her husband?
She came back with her husband. He was done coloring my hair. I had the process on. He was cutting another lady's hair. And she walks in with her husband. Her husband asked him to step out. And Mr. Manouk says, I can't leave my client and step out. He goes, if you don't step out, I'm going to make a big scene in your salon. So Mr. Manouk said, you already made a scene. Let's just hear it, what you have to say. He just started yelling and cussing and using bad words, and all the clients were surprised. I mean, he had other people sitting there that they were really upset and got up and started telling them, please, to be quiet and calm down. And he won't do that. They were both upset. They threatened to do a lawsuit, and they said, we want our money back. You're not giving us our money. He says, I can't give you the money for something I did right. They wanted the money back for their product that they purchased. He says, no problem. You bring the product, I give you the money back.
Your Honor, she wanted to keep the product and have me pay her back the money for the product and the hair.
So after 5-10 minutes of being loud and talking, Mr. Manouk just asked him to leave because it was a really big scene in the salon.
Mr. McGowan, you want to step up here, sir? Why did you go into the salon that day?
Well, after seeing my wife very upset and crying for several days, couldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days, I finally asked her what is wrong, and then she told me that she went to a salon and he didn't have the time of day for her. So she said, will you come back with me? I just want my money back. And so we went into the salon. I said, Mr. Kasabian, we need to talk to you about her hair situation.
She said you made a scene in the salon.
Here's what I said. I said, we need to talk to you about your hair salon. can you talk to us now? No, I'm busy. I said, you wouldn't talk to my wife a while ago. I said, you need to talk to her now. Either you talk to her now or everybody's going to hear it.
Well, why would you do that, Mr. McGowan? That's outrageous. Sir, listen to me. That's outrageous. Sir, your wife walks in the middle of a business day. She wants his attention while he's working on somebody else. And because she wasn't instantaneously gratified, she went home. She cried to you. You went back to the store, and he was working on somebody else. And you said, if you don't take care and speak to my wife immediately, you made a scene. Well, for you and your wife to walk into a business that's a busy salon and make a scene because you didn't get instant gratification is outrageous.
Your Honor, he burned my hair.
And you reburned it 3 weeks later.
No, I didn't.
Are you wearing a wig now?
No, I didn't.
Your hair looks just fine to me. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
All right. Excuse, you may step out.
Just because my hair looks good now, it doesn't look like a porcupine. It doesn't mean that I did not endure a lot of headaches.
I think there are a couple of con artists that would try to get something for nothing.
I had to go to psychotherapy to just be able to endure his misconduct.
I think she's psycho already, and she should be put away.
Clifford Johnson is suing bail bondsman Michael Fidelis for attorney fees after Michael refused to surrender a bailee.
Yeah, this is case number 511 on the calendar, the matter of Johnson versus Fidelis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Johnson, did you ever hear the expression when you were growing up, good guys finish last?
Yes, I have heard it, and I found that out.
You're the good guy.
Yes, I am.
I don't necessarily think he's the bad guy. Let me see if I can explain to my comrade over here what this case is about. You had an employee,
right?
A woman.
Yes.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm in the plumbing business, service and repair.
And what did this woman do for you?
She answered telephones and did some light office work.
And then there came a time when she was arrested.
Correct.
What was she arrested for?
It was 3 felony drug charges.
And she asked you if you would post her bail.
Correct.
And here's where we get the good guys finish last. You said, okay.
I didn't say okay right away. She called me 6 times begging to get me out, begging to get her out, and I wasn't going to do it. Then she said, look, I'll sign my car over to you if you get me out. I said, are you sure you want to do that? I says, okay, I'll get you out. So I didn't think there was going to be that big of a deal. It did turn out to be a big deal, though.
So you posted the bail and with this gentleman?
Mr. Fidelis, yes.
And how much did you have to actually give him in cash?
It was $2,515. The bail was $25,000,
okay.
10%.
And that means that if she failed to appear, since you are saying I will vouch for her, you would have been responsible for the entire $25,000 if she chose not to appear.
Correct. That's the way the contract is written, yes.
Is that correct so far?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Bare bones. And subsequently, she was terminated from her job.
Correct.
You got nervous.
Well, she became...
So you called Mr. Fidelis.
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
Well, I told her, I says, the only reason I'll go to the bail bondsman right now to have you put back in jail is because you don't have any place to go outside the state of California. She goes, oh, yes, I do. And I also know the state of California would never come and extradite me. And I advised her of the financial risk I took in getting her out of jail. So after hearing this, I then contacted Mr. Fidelis about to say, I want her back in jail. I want out of this bond. And on the 28th...
Just a second. We're not...
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Don't get ahead of me.
Okay.
So you contacted Mr. Fidelis. Mr. Fidelis did not pick her up.
I did not pick her up, Your Honor.
And that caused you to hire an attorney.
Correct.
To go to court, make a motion to have this bail forfeited. Plus you had to lose days at your business because
Correct.
You went to several court hearings.
Yes.
And you want Mr. Fidelis to pay you back for your legal fees and for your lost time at work because Correct. He didn't pick her up and get you off the hook. That's what your lawsuit.
Basically, yes.
So you contacted Mr. Fidelis, and Mr. Fidelis said what?
He agreed to pick her up. He signed a document. He and I both signed it on the 28th of June.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, I did not agree to pick her up.
Just a second, I want to see the document that he says you signed that you would pick her up. This is a request for
Correct.
Surrender of defendant.
Correct.
And release from liability, and it says that you have information that would lead the court to believe that there is increased potential for the defendant's flight. You signed it? And he signed it.
Correct.
Where does it say here that he agrees to pick her up?
He agreed verbally that he would...
Just a second. He doesn't say here that he agrees to pick her up.
I understand that document there, yes.
Okay.
But he did tell me, in this letter that I did address to him, that he would have his people pick her up. Okay, he agreed. He quoted me a fee. I asked him what it was going to be. It's going to be $500 to $600. He says, fine, pick her up. I'll pay it. He never would. He had me sitting around the office with her because I wanted to be there, make sure she was there, so there wasn't going to be any problems.
What date was this?
It was signed on the 28th. On the 30th, I called him to notify her that she could come, that he could come pick her up, which he never did. He kept promising he was going to pick her up. Here's bail agent.
Just a second. You said to him on the 30th, he signed this, and you signed this.
It was signed on the 28th.
And then on the 30th, you called him and said, well, come pick her up. She's in the office.
Right.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
And what did he say to you?
He told me that he was going to contact his bail agent and that he would have her picked up. I kept calling about every 30 minutes asking, why are they here? He would never call me back, and then he promised me he was going to come personally and pick her up and take her into custody before the day was out. He never showed up.
Okay, now what happened on that day, sir, the 30th of June?
I don't recall that day, Your Honor. On the 25th...
25th of what?
The plaintiff of June, 2004.
I'm talking about the 30th, 2 days after you signed this request for surrender.
Nothing happened that day, Your Honor.
Well, he says that he contacted your office several times.
No, these are all false statements that the plaintiff is making.
Okay. Did you know this lady from any previous time? Had you ever had any previous dealings with her?
No, Your Honor.
She was a stranger to you?
Yes.
What did you tell Mr. Johnson when you signed this?
If at any time she became a risk at any time, you would have to justify and give good cause to surrender her over to the court. Now,
Just a second, how did you tell him to do that?
By picking her up himself and surrendering her over to the proper authorities.
Did you tell him, just a second?
Yes.
Did you tell him that?
Yes,
that he
I
has
did.
the right to take her by the arm and bring her to court? You told him that?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
No, you didn't. You know, I can tell that because you looked at the floor when you said that. I don't believe it, and I don't believe that it's even appropriate for somebody to grab somebody else by the arm and say, I'm dragging you to court. I can just imagine what would go on in this town if that happened. It would be a free-for-all. So he's saying to listen to me, he's saying to a professional, I want you to pick her up.
I cannot, Your Honor.
Fine. Then you have to tell him what to do.
And I did. I gave him all the information by the laws of the state. He could have done whatever he wished at that point.
Then what does this say, sir? Then what is this for? What is this surrender document for?
Surrender document?
Just so that you're on alert for something?
Your Honor, that document is a standard document that is required when and if you surrender the defendant over. He did not show good cause.
Just a second. He did not show good cause.
For the surrender of the defendant.
To whom?
To myself.
Ah, here we go.
Yes.
Well, we're going to get there. I want to tell you something. We're going to get there to where I want to be, whether you like it or not. We understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what you're saying is what he told you about the conversation that he had with this lady was not sufficient in your judgment to pick her up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ah, right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says bail bondsman Michael Fidelis owes for attorney fees and lost wages. Clifford says when Michael refused to surrender a bailee, he had to hire a lawyer.
Now, in June, did she make a court appearance?
Yes, I actually have the docket showing she made over 9 appearances, each and every time over a 7-month duration.
Did there ever come a time she failed to appear?
No, she did not.
Is that correct, sir?
No, it's not correct. She failed to appear on December 1st, and I have the court document where the judge issued a $50,000 warrant for arrest.
Let me see both documents, please, Bert.
Right here, highlighted.
On December 1st, bail was exonerated. That's when you had a lawyer come in with you?
They posted the day before with the court.
He has bench warrant issued.
Warrant, Your Honor, if...
Bail is set at $50,000, mandatory appearance.
Well, Your Honor, she had hired private counsel, and her presence was not required on December 1st. That's why the bond was exonerated and not forfeited on December 1st. If she was ordered to appear on December 1st and she was not present, the bond would have been forfeited, not exonerated, regardless of the motion defense counsel, the third party for the plaintiff, had filed.
The judge on the same date issued a bench warrant for her arrest with $50,000 bail, sir.
Yes.
If she wasn't required to be there, he wouldn't have issued a warrant for her.
Then why wasn't she detained on December 16th?
I don't know, sir, why she wasn't detained on December 16th.
That's obviously an error of the court.
All I'm telling you is a bench warrant was issued for her on December 1st. Your problem, Mr. Johnson, is that after June, when you requested that he pick her up,
Yes.
she appeared June 17th, July 19th, August 2nd, September 20th, October 13th, November 2nd. She appeared on all those dates.
She sure did.
She sure did. Well, you got a problem, sir. That's why nice guys finish last. She did
Your
make
Honor.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 appearances before December 12th.
Your Honor, from the attorneys that represented me, they told me that there's a California law that
Listen
requires...
to me. You cannot tell me what the attorneys told you. That's
Okay.
hearsay. And what I'm telling you is I'm trying to be reasonable with you.
No, I
I don't think
understand.
that he's being honest with me as to what your conversations were with each other, and also initially whether or not he had a responsibility to act on your information. But if I look at the objective data, Mr. Johnson, this defendant, not this defendant, but this defendant did in fact make 6 court appearances. And you had the ability during each of those court appearances to go in, to hire a lawyer, do the exact same thing as you did on December 1st and say, listen, I have this information and I don't want to be responsible for this bail anymore. Ultimately, the case was resolved.
She was sentenced to jail.
Ultimately, the case was resolved. She pled guilty, but she did, in fact, appear on 6 other court dates.
She barely made 2 of those court payments.
Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, nice guys finish last. Don't post bond for anybody anymore. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is crazy.
What I think is the real motive is he has something going on with her.
No, I do not. I personally think, after speaking with the defendant in the criminal case, that he wanted something more than an employee-employer relationship.
He was calling her, trying to get her to go out and date. On a date is what he was doing.
I do not appreciate his defamatory and slandering comments.
There are other girls in my office that told me this stuff. They overheard conversation between him and her.
I explained to her, I have nothing to do with that. You need to appear in court when you're ordered to, and finish your case.
Underwood is suing her ex-boyfriend, construction worker Sean Burge, for a loan to have his truck lifted and for impound fees. Tammy claims Sean lied to her about being married.
Now, this is case number 492 on the calendar, the matter of Underwood versus Burge. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
You're the wife?
Yes, ma'am.
You're the girlfriend?
The ex-girlfriend.
You're the bargain? Don't see it. So something special that's just between you and you. Miss Underwood, according to your complaint, Mr. Burge and you were involved in a relationship. You didn't know that he was still married at the time.
Correct.
And you loaned him money. Loaned
Correct.
him money to do something called lifting his truck. I don't know what that means. You'll explain it to me in 10 seconds or less. Then you bailed out his car when it got impounded. What else?
2 tickets.
2 tickets. And you said you made loans to him because you actually thought that you were going to be building a life together based upon his promises and his statement that you were going to go to live in Arizona together and whatever. When you tried to find out when he was going to pay you, you went to his house and lo and behold, his wife answered the door.
Correct.
Mr. Burge said everything that you gave him that he acknowledges he took were given as gifts.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he never fooled you. You knew that he was married and that he had children because he has tattoos of them all over him.
Tattoos does not mean that he's
they're
still
together.
married, or the fact that...
And he says he doesn't owe you a quarter. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long are you married, Mr. Burge?
Over 6 years.
You have children?
Yes, 4.
When did you leave your wife?
Around April, May.
And when did you meet Miss Underwood?
Right at the end of May.
Where?
Through an ad in the paper.
What kind of an ad?
It was like a penny saver ad.
What did it say? Shh, quiet!
It said, this is who I am. And so I responded to it. She sounded interesting.
Why, after 6 years of marriage and 4 children, you separated? In a couple of weeks, you felt the necessity to find somebody else?
It's just I like having someone around. I wasn't out to build a relationship. I was out to find a friend, and, you know, things were going good with us.
And when for the first time did she give you money?
It would be September 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Right? Yep.
September 9th.
But I didn't give him anything.
Tell me what she gave you money for.
She did a lift on my truck.
Well, I don't know what that means. A lift for your truck means it's raised off the ground?
It raises it off the ground with bigger tires.
Why did you need that?
It was just something I wanted.
You have 4 children, so don't you think you should want to send them more money than raise your truck off the ground?
My children are well taken care of.
How much money did you earn?
Say again?
How much money did you earn?
I was making $15 an hour.
Oh, my God. A fortune. So what you're telling me is on $15 an hour, you can support your 4 children and you.
My wife works also.
How old are your children?
Twin 9-year-olds, a 5-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old boy.
And who watches them when you're both working?
Daycare.
Who pays for the daycare?
We do.
Really? Your wife must be a very successful CEO of a major company.
No, she just works very hard for what she gets.
Harder than you.
We work equally.
Really? What kind of work do you do, Miss Burge?
I work for the phone company.
What's your annual salary?
54.
So you're the primary breadwinner in your family?
I make more an hour, yes.
Stand up. How many months were you separated from your husband?
Roughly about 6.
How much money did he send you for support during those 6 months?
We still live together, but we just stayed.
Is what you're telling me, Miss Burge, that you still lived under the same roof while you were separated?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that, Miss Underwood?
No, I did not.
You think your husband told that to her?
I don't know.
Trust me. Did he tell you about Miss Underwood?
No, we didn't share personal stuff about each other.
No, only 4 children. Did you ask him where he got the money to have his truck lifted?
No, ma'am.
See. Where did Mr. Burge tell you that he was living?
He said exactly where he was living.
Had you ever been there to visit him?
No, because he was always at my house.
How often was he at your house?
A couple times during the week, not for very long, but he came over a couple times during the week on Sundays, because Sunday was his only day off.
But you never went to his house until you were looking for the money?
Until New Year's Eve, correct.
Well, you weren't looking for the money New Year's Eve, you were just looking to find him?
I actually was just looking to find him because he told me that we would be together, and then his friends called and said that he was drunk and passed out, so they were taking him to their house. So I decided that enough was enough, and I wanted to go find out what was going on, and lo and behold, the wife and 4 kids answered the door.
Mr. Burge, did you tell Miss Underwood that you were still living at home with your wife?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Why not?
I didn't see it as relevant at the time. We were just friends.
Well, you were friends, you were intimate.
Yeah.
You had taken money from her.
Yeah.
You knew that she had feelings for you.
Yes.
Did you feel as if you were being honest with her?
Not completely, no.
Right. I think you got the better end of the deal.
I think so, too.
Unfortunately, she didn't find out about his character until they had 4 children together.
That's her problem.
That's her problem. And not only that,
she can have him. I don't want him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Underwood says ex-boyfriend Sean Burge owes for having his truck lifted and for impound fees. Tammy says Sean is living a double life.
Tell me about having the truck lifted.
He said that the weight of all the tools and stuff he used for work weighed the truck down too much, so if we did that, then it wouldn't be as much of a strain on the truck. And at that point, I'm agreeing that, you know, we're going to try and start a life. We had already talked about starting a life, and I told him, okay, I said, this is the deal. I have a credit card that just got paid off. We could do this, but you have to make the payments on it.
And he said? He
said, okay. He said that would not be a problem. He would be able to make the payments. So we...
Now let me hear your version of the truck, sir.
Your Honor, weeks before that, we were talking. My birthday was coming up in October, and she asked me, you know, what do you want for your birthday? Jokingly, I said, I'd like to get my truck lifted. I never made arrangements to pay anything back, because if I could afford to pay her back on it, I would have paid for it myself.
What was the next thing you paid off for him?
His truck got towed.
When did your truck get towed?
I don't remember the exact date.
And what did you do when you found out it was towed?
I called to her and asked her if she could get it out.
Why don't you call your wife?
I didn't choose to.
You can either have a happy life or an unhappy life. The choice is yours. Do you understand?
I understand.
Just because you make an initial mistake doesn't mean that you have to go through your whole life suffering for it. How much did it cost to have the truck lifted?
$32.50.
How much did it cost to get the car out of impound?
$318.
And now we have the tickets. What about the tickets? Did he ask you to pay those tickets?
Yes, he called me at work and said, can we afford for you to pay the tickets? And I said, there's no we. I can do it if you can make the payments. I said, you have to agree to make the payments.
How much were the tickets?
One was $606 and one was $446.
What do you want to say?
I want to mention that I just want to reflect back on something that she had said when she said that he used to come over quite frequently. He works Monday through Saturday, and he was only gone on a Sunday a few times that I can recall.
Well, what do you think that this phantom relationship that he had with Miss Underwood was?
I really don't know. I wasn't involved in it, but
right. You do know, however, that he solicited her friendship while the two of you were married and living under the same roof. Mm-hmm. That he asked her for help, according to him, right?
Right.
Or something that someone would say to a new friend. We're building something together. I need some help right now. Mm-hmm. Separated from my wife, whatever. We're divorced. I don't know. Did he say he's separated or divorced?
No, said he was divorced for about 1.5 years.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
I understand that.
Do you believe her that that's what he said? I want you to believe her, Miss Burge.
Okay.
That's what he said.
May I mention another thing?
Sure.
The night that she showed up on our doorstep, she did mention to me that she had told him that he needs to put an effort toward the relationship or she was going to sue him for the money.
And your point would be?
You know, it was okay for her to do this for him until she found out that we were still living together and that he and I ended up going, started working on a relationship and he left her.
Because you got the prize. Is that right? Because you got the prize? And she didn't.
Weird.
And she didn't. I want to tell you, my darling, you got the booby prize. He's an unethical, amoral man who used her when it suited him. And he didn't even have the decency to say to her, I'm going back to my wife. I know you spent almost $5,000 on me. I'm going to pay you back, little by little, whatever it takes, because I don't want you to feel as if you've been abused by me. Do you understand? That would have been a decent human being. Instead, he says, see ya. You feel like a fool? You were a fool? I'm going back to my wife with my new lifted truck. And if that's the kind of character you want your children to grow up around, stick with them. You will reap what you sow. The next fool will be you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,620. Thank you. That's all.
Why did you excuse you? Let's step out.
We started building a life together. He said he loved me, and I never knew about the wife until New Year's Eve.
I didn't lie to her about anything. I might not have told her things, but I didn't lie to her.
We had all kinds of plans. It wasn't just like a month, okay, boom, done,
It just didn't work between me and her.
Christmas, he promised my son he would be there, and all of a sudden didn't show.
Mistress is a mistress, You end up coming out with everything or you come out with nothing.
It really hurt because I was in love with him, but she can have him.
For vet bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2064, Singleton versus Free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Singleton, your case is relatively simple. It is your claim that the defendant's unleashed dog bit your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you incurred vet bills, and you want Mr. Free to be responsible for them.
That's correct.
Mr. Free says that it's true that his dog did bite yours on the leg.
Yes, ma'am.
But that your dog was on his property and your dog was the aggressor. That's your position.
Correct.
Okay. And you were walking two dogs.
Two dogs and my nephew.
Nephew was a baby.
Yes, he was 3 years old, and my dog was 3, and the large dog that was bit, he was 12 at the time.
So you have a small rat terrier, yes. I think. Mm-hmm. And your larger dog is what kind of dog?
A Siberian Husky.
And what kind of dog do you have, sir?
I have a Italian Mastiff, Cane Corso.
That's a big dog.
At the time, he was about maybe 12 months old, so maybe a little bit over a year. So he's bigger now, but yeah.
How much did he weigh?
At that time, probably about 80 pounds.
Tell me about your property, sir. You
Well,
have a
we
photograph of your property?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay. Here's a couple of them here.
Miss Singleton, this incident happened when?
Christmas Day of last year, around 12:30, right before we had Christmas lunch.
Weather was okay?
Oh, it was great.
And how close do you live to Mr. Free?
I don't live anywhere near him. I actually live in Stone Mountain, but I was going to my parents' house for Christmas, so we were walking around the neighborhood. He lives almost directly behind my parents' house.
And I see that while there are driveways here, the front lawn extends all the way to the street. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were walking both your dogs, and were they leashed or unleashed?
They were leashed.
Both?
Yes, they were both leashed.
And Mr. Free, you sort of acknowledged that both of her dogs were on leashes.
I've only seen one dog. I didn't see two dogs, and I didn't see a child either. It was her.
Okay, so just a second. So you saw a husky.
Correct.
Did you see the plaintiff?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you one more time.
Okay.
Was the husky on a leash?
I guess, yes. I guess.
The answer is either yes or no.
I'm not sure. I wasn't,
okay, well,
I wasn't
if you're
looking at
not
the
sure,
leash.
she says the husky was on a leash.
Yeah, so I'm not going to deny her dog was
Okay. And your dog at the time was on your property unleashed.
My dog was on my property, period.
Your dog, pay careful attention. Your dog was on your property
Correct.
unleashed.
Correct.
At 12:30. And tell him to make a circle where he was and an X where he saw for the first time Miss Singleton and her dog. X where you were, just where you were, you personally.
Okay.
And put a circle the place where you saw Miss Singleton for the first time. Okay. So you were in the front yard.
Correct.
And that looks about 30 feet away from where you saw Miss Singleton for the first time.
If that.
From here to here.
So
put the X.
Sure.
It's all the way past the house. You're at the one side of the driveway. You have an entranceway to your house.
Correct.
And then you have, is this front a living room?
Yes, it is.
A living room, which is past that. And where you made a circle, which is a very large circle, is probably 10 feet away from the edge of the house.
Yes, that's what I know.
So I said it's about 30 feet away.
Okay.
And now I want you to put, can I have your pink Sharpie, please? Thank you very much. I want you to use this and put in this picture where your dog was at 12:30.
To get your understanding, you want
12:30. I want you to put a mark where your dog was immediately before you saw Miss Singleton and her
immediately
dog.
before. Thank you. You're not going to be able to see.
Okay, great. Great. So your dog, according to you, was right next to you, about 30 feet away from where Miss Singleton was when you saw her.
To be honest with
her
you,
dog.
he kind of moves around the yard. He doesn't sit still very much, so.
Well, you understand, Mr. Free,
Mm-hmm.
that even if your dog is on your property, you're supposed to maintain control of your dog all the time.
And which I
You
do.
understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So if your dog is able to run 30 feet without being connected to you,
He didn't run.
just walk, cha-cha, tap dance,
Uh-huh.
pirouetted, however he got there, your dog got 30 feet away from where you were.
Correct.
Your 80-pound dog. Ultimately, her case comes down to she was walking her leashed dog. I haven't figured out whose fault it is yet. She was walking her leashed dog and your dog ran, walked, pirouetted, cha-cha, whatever it did, to her dog.
Christine Singleton claims dog owner Kevin Free owes for vet bills from a dog fight.
Now, Miss Singleton was walking with her other dog and a 3-year-old. I want you to process that into your mind. And this is a 12-month-old, which is still a puppy. You know, still a puppy, but at 80 pounds...
Your Honor, there was no 3-year-old. I didn't see a 3-year-old.
Just a second.
Okay.
I don't care what you saw while you were busy putting together something for Christmas in your front yard. If you didn't see it, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you didn't see it, it just means you didn't see it. She tells me she sees it. She remembers walking her 2 dogs. You only remember 1. She has 2 that she was walking at 12:30 Christmas Day. The fact that you only saw 1 means you weren't paying attention to where your dog was.
Or they wasn't there.
Well, that's pretty stupid, Mr. Free.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to carry 2 dogs and an infant down a neighborhood you don't even belong in. I mean, you don't know from.
Mr. Free, they're only going to take 1 voice.
I understand. Yeah.
They're only going to take 1 voice, and that's mine. Let me tell you why your argument is stupid. Because it doesn't make any difference whether she was walking 2 dogs or 4 dogs or 8 dogs. It doesn't make any difference whether she was walking with or without a 3-year-old. Ultimately, her case comes down to she was walking her leashed dog. I haven't figured out whose fault it is yet. She was walking her leashed dog, and your dog ran, walked, pirouetted, cha-cha, whatever it did, to her dog out of your control. Was not under your control because it was not leashed. Do you understand?
I understand.
Now, I could be your old nephew.
Yes, ma'am.
Nephew and another dog that you didn't see. But that's not the issue in this case, whether she was with another dog, another child, or with anybody else. The issue is, whose fault is it that a dog was out of control? So, now you're going to tell me what happened at 12:30 on Christmas Day, just so that Mr. Free doesn't think that I'm picking on him.
Okay.
Which I'm not.
Okay, I know.
You may think I am, but I'm not picking on him. You're walking with your husky.
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
I was walking with my nephew, 3 years old.
No, don't just listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me carefully.
Okay, just walk down the street.
I
Okay.
said you're walking. I got it in my mind.
Okay.
But so Mr. Free doesn't think that I'm being unfair to him, because he doesn't remember what he saw. You're walking your husky.
Okay, only him.
On the street. So your nephew didn't get hurt. Your rat terrier didn't get hurt.
That's correct.
Okay. So now you're walking your husky on the street. And?
Okay, and then all of a sudden we see a dog charging towards us. And
Who's we?
Oh, I called me, my nephew, and my dog's we.
No, now it's just I saw.
I saw a dog charging towards us. That dog and Leon got into an altercation, and then Leon turned around to try and kick the dog in the face, and he grabbed his foot and he let go.
Okay,
but then,
let's go much slower.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
You saw a dog charging towards you.
Yes, ma'am.
And
that dog got into an altercation with
your dog. Yeah. Tell me about that initial altercation.
At first, they were biting each other's muzzles.
Okay, so they were both biting each other's muzzles.
Yes.
Okay.
My dog turned around to try and, I guess...
No, don't tell me what he was trying to do. Your dog turned around.
He kicked the dog in the face.
Your dog kicked his dog in the face?
Yes. He grabbed his leg, punctured it, let it go. Leon kicked him again. This time he grabbed his other leg.
Okay, so your dog kicked that dog again?
Twice, yes.
His dog again?
Yes, ma'am.
And? No, don't show me pictures.
Okay.
First I have to find whose fault it is before I look at pictures and vet bills.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you saw his dog charging towards you, and your dog's name is Leon?
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
On a leash. But it's a big dog?
Yes, ma'am.
How much does it weigh?
Leon, 75 pounds.
So about the same as the defendant's dog?
Yes.
And it's a senior dog?
Yes, that is correct.
Has your dog ever had a history with another dog? I'm going to say it again. Has your dog ever had a history of an altercation with another dog?
No, ma'am.
Has your dog ever had a history of an altercation with another person?
No, ma'am.
And I assume if I asked you those questions, you would give me what answer, sir?
I would say no.
You would say no because?
Because my dog has never had any problems with any dogs.
With any dog?
Any dogs, person.
Any other person?
Correct.
So you would acknowledge, Miss Singleton, that I'm going to show you this photograph of Mr. Free's house. And what I'd like you to do is show me where, according to you, let's get her a different color pen. Do we have a different, well, we have, that's
This is
the same.
blue.
Okay. I'd like you to make a P, to just put a P where the dogs first made contact.
Thank you. Okay. It's not on this photo.
Is it on this photo? Do you have a photo?
I do have a photo.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Here.
Would you please make
This is his home, and this is where it happened, right underneath the tree.
Put a P there.
Okay.
Oh, so what you're saying is, where you put the P, that the dog was in the street.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Where you say, did you see Mr. Free?
I did not until he came and retrieved his animal.
Did you see where he came from?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you see anything being assembled in the yard?
Once we were leaving, yes.
And what did you see?
A basketball goal.
A basketball goal?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what you were putting together, Mr. Free?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you show me where that was, please? It was here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Free, you're putting something together. The first thing you hear is a kerfuffle, some sort of a...
No.
What do you hear? Dogs are animals. They're not as smart as you are. But when your dog charged out into the street, it could just as easily have gotten hit by a car. That would have been your fault. Your dog was out in a public street outside of your control, and it's a big dog, and you should be more careful.
Christine Singleton claims dog owner Kevin Free is responsible for injuries after his dog attacked her dog.
No, I actually I saw my dog run across the yard. So.
And you saw the dog running across the yard.
Well, normally I really don't have a problem with him.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah. Okay.
My job that I'm really good at is telling when people are peeing on my leg and trying to tell me it's raining.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, I could tell immediately from your body language that you were beginning to tell me a whole bunch of who shot John. So I suggest to you, Mr. Free, that if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Now, I want to explain to you why that's so important. Did you hear Miss Singleton?
Correct.
She didn't have to tell me that. She said her dog not only nipped your dog in the face, because they were fighting muzzle to muzzle, but afterwards kicked your dog twice. Do you understand? That's what she said.
I heard that, yeah.
That's what she said. Well, that's sort of, that's sort of surprising. That would seem to someone.
It surprises me that dogs can get up on their front legs and kick, too. So I don't know what she's saying to you, but I don't know. I didn't see any kicking.
Listen to
the fight lasted like 3 seconds. It wasn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you understand when you're not telling the truth, Mr. Free?
Well, I think what you read from me is me responding to a whole bunch of stuff that was said that didn't.
No, what me responding to you is your body English. That's me responding to you because you were putting together this thing, but you said it was here.
Correct. It was in the driveway. It's pretty big.
Well, this isn't a driveway, sir. That's grass. That's what you marked where you were. And you marked where your dog was in the grass.
You asked me where I was.
Just a second.
Not the basketball goal.
No, I asked you where you were.
Yeah,
and you said here. And then you said to me, please read it back. Where were you? And you said, I believe he said he was in the driveway.
Correct. It was in the driveway.
I apologize. Excuse me.
Just a second. Driveway.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do.
Eventually, it noodles its way out, sir. The same way it noodles its way out to, my memory is correct, in your answer you wrote down, you saw them for the first time in the street.
On the, what we call a curve. It's a small slope that comes up from, no. Not all the way in the street, no.
No. Here, you see what happens, Mr. Free?
Yeah.
What you just said to me, both almost 80 years.
Congrats.
And if I have a choice between walking in the street and walking in that little dip that's designed to take rainwater away, I don't walk in that thing because I'll get killed. I'll break my legs. And you certainly don't walk in this little thing if you're walking two dogs and a child. You don't walk in that little drain that's carved out here to take rainwater away. You walk either on the grass, on everybody's grass,
Correct.
or you walk in the street.
Makes sense.
And you, sir, would have me believe that the plaintiff walked all the way around the block, walking on people's grass. Other than that, she would have to be in the street and decide, well,
Sometimes
I
it's
think I'm going to go up
unavoidable,
on
but
the
no.
grass in this
But no,
guy's
I wouldn't
house.
say that.
What?
Sometimes it's unavoidable, so I'm not saying that at all.
Sir, I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
You're going to pay her vet bills. Your dog was out of your control and was in the street, not on your grass. In the street. You had no control over your dog, an 80-pound puppy. Now, the dog could have, just playfully, knocked over the 3-year-old and hurt the 3-year-old. Could have. Didn't. Got into a scuffle with a dog approximately the same size. Her dog was leashed, within her control. Your dog, you had to run from where you were putting this together and come and get your dog.
Your Honor,
That's what you say.
A dog under control doesn't manage to do 2 jump kicks and a bite.
No, just a second, sir. You can do that if you're on a leash. Her dog never left her hand.
Your Honor, the injuries was to the hind feet of the dog.
This isn't, Mr. Free, this is,
Okay.
Maybe your wife lets you get away with that, sir. I don't. This is not a tap dance. This is not a recital or a rehearsal. You made a picture of where you said this happened. Yeah. I don't believe you. That's what it's about. I believe that this occurred on a public street, and on the public street, you had no control of your dog. You decided to let your dog stay outside. You haven't had any trouble with your dog before, so you wouldn't have anticipated that your dog would run out into the street, because if your dog, right? Do you think that you might sue the person who hit your dog? You might try. You might try. You might say, oh, my God, they should have been going slower. Oh, my God. Do you understand? You're the owner. Dogs are animals. They're not as smart as you are. But when your dog charged out into the street, it could just as easily have gotten hit by a car. That would have been your fault. But under those circumstances, you would have said it's the car's fault. Your dog was out in a public street outside of your control, and it's a big dog, and you should be more careful. If you want to keep your dog outside while you're putting something together and keep the dog on your property, put down a stake, put the dog on a lead, and let the dog stay outside with you. But if you let a 12-month-old, 80-pound dog run loose and it runs into the street, you, sir, are responsible for the consequences. What was your vet bill?
It was $1,832.64.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't think that I was 100% responsible.
I'm glad it was swift and easy, honestly.
From my perspective, it lasted for about 3 seconds.
I was trying to fight with this man for a while. I'm glad it's over.
Might have happened in that 3 seconds, but it was too fast for my eyes.
Honestly, it was kind of traumatizing, especially since I had a 3-year-old with me, and I had to quickly think and just pick him up before the dog got him.
I think they just fought and my dog won.
Bring the Judy justice, baby.
I watched the show. I know how she gets down, you know?
So, as you know, we have 2 large, pretty docile golden retrievers at home that are now 8 and 12 years old. But even when we have family that comes over, or friends with little children that are curious, that like to come up and pull on the ears a little or play with them, you have to be careful. They're 80 and 90-pound dogs. We've never once had a problem with either of them. But you just never know. You can't control a dog that's 90 pounds, but they're just big. They could knock them over by accident with their tail, just so excited.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. You have a responsibility.
Suing his former tenant, Samuel Gastelum, for an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2035, Rodriguez versus Gastelum.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
What kind of a premises do you live in, sir?
It's a 4-bedroom house.
And I see here that you rent out some of the rooms in order to assist with your mortgage.
That's correct.
How many rooms do you rent out?
3.
And who lives in the other?
Right now it's Kathleen Meister, and then I have 2 other roommates.
And you use one room?
Correct.
When did you rent a room to the defendant?
It was January 22.
And what was the rent that you were charging him?
$750 a month.
When he came to you, did he have a dog?
No.
When did you move in?
About late January.
Give me a day.
22nd.
And you moved in alone?
Yes, ma'am.
Paid your rent on time?
Yes, ma'am.
February, paid your rent on time?
Yes, ma'am.
Lived there alone?
Yes, ma'am.
What about March?
Did I live there alone in March also? Yes, ma'am.
When did you get a dog?
I've had my dog
No, when did you get a dog that you brought into the house?
April 22nd, 23rd.
So several months after you moved in. Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And before you moved the dog in, did you have a discussion with the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
Just prior to moving in with the dog. And what was the discussion that you had with the plaintiff?
That if it was okay if I were to bring my dog that I had in Alaska, since I had him since he was about 6-7 weeks.
And where had he been in the last 2 months?
He was still in Alaska, staying with close friends, and I flew to Seattle, shipped my truck and all my belongings to Seattle, and drove here. From Seattle, my dog, the person who was watching him, drove from Alaska to Montana, and I had gone to Montana to pick him up.
So you asked Mr. Rodriguez if it was okay if you brought your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say?
Yes.
Did he say anything else?
He said, just clean
Now
up.
look at me.
He said,
Did he say anything else
clean
other
up
than...
after the dog, make sure that the dogs don't fight, and just take care of him.
Okay. Nothing about him staying out of the house?
He said he wouldn't prefer him to be around the house, but he would not. It would be okay for him to be in my room.
In your room?
The dog stayed with me in that room a few nights, and he knowingly knew about it.
No, I don't want to know what he knew. I want to know what your arrangement was. So your arrangement with him, according to you, now to have to stay outside, but could stay in your room.
He said he didn't want him in the living area. My dog could also be in the garage or
in your room. And was everything okay in April when you brought the dog?
Yeah, everything was
What
fine.
about May?
May, I was looking for a new place. I was homeless because I had spent 5 days in jail.
Oh, I'm talking about before you went to jail, sir. Before you went to jail, because this case is about an assault, which is what the plaintiff is claiming. Plaintiff is claiming that you assaulted him in the home, and that took place on April 30th. That was shortly after your dog arrived.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the dog was the reason for the altercation.
A part of the reason, but that's
in
how it started.
February, March, and up until April, the end of April, when the dog was there, I see no evidence here that there was any difficulty.
You're right.
Fair statement? Yeah. So that the problem arose when the dog came. Now, this woman's name is Kathleen. She's interspersed in both the complaint and the answer in this case. She had a cat. Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
He had a cat. And it was a house cat.
Yes, ma'am.
Plaintiff has a dog.
A few dogs.
And they live in the house.
Yes, they stay in the garage and in the backyard, yes.
Garage and backyard, do they stay in the house?
They do not go inside that.
Okay, so his dogs stay outside, and he said to you, according to you, dogs can stay outside in the garage and in your room.
Yes.
In April, did your dog get out of your room or into the house?
Yes.
Yes. On what date?
April 30th, because I was allowing him inside to go to my room.
On April 30th, the dog was where?
In the backyard, but I was bringing him inside to come to my room.
You were bringing him from outside to come into your room. I haven't asked him. He says in his papers that the dog was supposed to remain outside. You were bringing him inside to your room.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it is your claim here that it is in Alaska.
With
people
I trust.
I don't care people who you trust or not. If you needed an emotional support animal, the emotional support animal has to travel with you. So don't show me a certificate. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
By the way, did that certificate that you have come from a psychiatrist?
No.
No. Did it come from a psychologist?
No.
Did it come from any doctor who was treating you?
There was a doctor's note, yes.
Was a doctor who was treating you?
Yes.
Yes. Not a psychiatrist?
Not a psychiatrist, no.
Not a psychologist?
Not a psychologist.
And you took this note and you had to send it to somebody over the internet?
Yes.
And then they sent you a certificate?
Yes, and with an ID.
That's what I got. Okay, so now you're bringing the dog on April 30th from the backyard into the house, and?
He attempts to grab the dog.
No. Is the dog on a leash?
No, he's very well
Just a sec. Is the dog on a leash?
No.
Were you holding the dog by the collar?
Yes.
And now you're taking the dog from outside to inside. What did he say to you?
No dogs in the house.
Because that's what he had said to you before. You can have your dog, but no dogs in the house. I want to tell you something. That's what I believe. So he said, no dogs in the house. And you said to him,
I'm going to bring my dog into my room.
But when you asked him if you could bring the dog to the house, There is no question in my mind that he said to you, bring the dog to the house, but the dog doesn't come into the house.
He stayed in my room a few nights prior to
I
that.
don't
He
care.
already
Listen to me.
approved
That's what the arrangement was, sir.
Okay.
The arrangement was not what you told me before. The arrangement was with him. Yes, you can bring the dog to the house. I will let you do that. But the dog has to stay either in the garage or outside like my dogs.
Okay.
And you said, in effect, screw you. I'm bringing my dog, and I'm bringing my dog into my room.
In effect.
You're the tenant. That was the agreement. You can have the dog, but the dog must not be in the house. That's what your landlord told you. You brought the dog from Alaska, and at the very beginning, you brought the dog into your room.
Mm-hmm.
When had you decided that you were going to breach the agreement with him?
The very first night I went to receive my dog, he stayed at the house inside my room with me.
So the very first night that you brought him, you decided to breach the agreement that
He
you
had
had.
knowingly said it was okay.
Did you tell him it was okay?
Never. I have texts.
All day here. Nobody is hungry.
I'm a little
Still have
hungry.
2 more cases to do before lunch. Everybody gets a little testy, including me.
I don't have the text. I do not have the text.
Yeah, good. That's what I thought. Okay. It wasn't on the 30th that the dog got loose in the house. It was sometime before that, maybe a day or so before that. On the 30th was a day, sir, that you got locked out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Is
Your
not
Honor.
an answer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And what time of the day was it that you got locked out of the house?
2 o'clock after middle afternoon, late afternoon.
And according to what I read, you went to the back of the house to let yourself into the house, and you got into an altercation with Kathleen. Absolutely, she shouldn't have put her hands on and slapped you because you were fresh. Because you wouldn't be fresh to me, right?
Fresh?
Fresh. That's what you say to a child. Fresh. How old are you?
65.
How old are you?
25.
That's fresh.
Armando Rodriguez claims his former tenant, Samuel Gastelum, is responsible for damages from an assault. Samuel says he was the one assaulted and falsely arrested.
Now, you got into an altercation with Kathleen.
Not quite, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what happened.
I had been outside, I went out the garage, and I was playing a time-sensitive game on my Xbox. So I was going back to the room, and I knocked on the garage door. No one answered, knocked on it a few times, pounded. Then I went back around and knocked on the sliding glass door a few times, one of the few times. Finally, Kathleen comes up and answers the door. At that point, I've been out there for about 10 minutes. So I'm upset. I'm like, who locked me out? Who locked the door? She gets completely defensive. She says, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. And I'm like, I'm asking who it was, because Armando and I had discussed.
Because you're on a time-sensitive video game.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
So you were on a time-sensitive video game. How old are you?
25 years old.
Okay, so now you're on a time-sensitive video game and somebody either on purpose or accidentally locked the door, and you think it's Kathleen.
No, I did not accuse anyone. I just asked was who
to the house.
on my...
No. Did you have...
I had a front door key, not to the garage door, not to the sliding door.
But you had a front door key.
Yes, Your Honor, but there's a gate. There's a big fence, and I didn't have a key to the gate that was locked.
You couldn't get into the house even with your front door key.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, after you had a conversation with her, there was no physicality between the two of you.
Not at that moment. But once Armando came around the corner, he's like, it was me who locked you out. So me and him...
Now, just a second. He said, it was me that locked you out.
Mm-hmm.
Did he say he did that on purpose, or was
it was an accident, is what
did he
said.
say? Okay, so he said it was me that locked you out. It was an accident.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't the first time.
It's not.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's yes. First, second, I've locked my children out of the house many times. Sometimes on purpose.
I'm not his
sometimes
child.
by accident.
I'm his roommate.
It doesn't make any difference. So he said to you, it was an accident, and you said to him,
it's happened before.
And he said to you,
those were accidents also.
Okay, and he said those were accidents also.
Yes.
And you said to him...
I said you need to be more attentive, more aware. If someone had just walked out and left the door unlocked, you should probably go and see if anyone's out there before you turn around and lock the door.
And he said?
He said he apologized.
So he said, I apologize.
Yes.
Okay, what's next?
Throughout that whole conversation, me and him are arguing
Okay,
back and forth.
at the end, he said, I'm sorry. He said, I apologize.
It's not so clear-cut. It's not
well, it's at the end of this back and forth. You should have been more careful. You should look to see who's at the door. You've done it before. I'm sorry. It was an accident. I apologize. Now I haven't apologized. And
in the middle of that altercation, Kathleen kept butting in. She said, you don't talk to me like that. You don't talk to me like that. I said, I wasn't even talking to you. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm talking to Armando. I said, mind your own business. She said, oh, you don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me what to do. I said, mind your own business. She said, say that to me one more time. I said, mind your own business. She walks across the hall and she slaps me across the face, and Armando grabs her hand right after she smacks me. And instead of retaliating aggressively or any type of thing, I call the police. Immediately call the police. And while we're waiting there for the police, that's when I get the apology from Armando. That's when he's like, okay, let's make a deal. Let's try to work this out before the police get there. The police get there. They ask me what had happened.
And you say that this older woman slapped you because you were
across
fresh.
the face.
Because you were fresh.
No, because
she shouldn't have put her hands on and slapped you because you were fresh. And she should not have put her hands on you. Would I have called the police about that? Maybe.
Except I am not a child, Your
just
Honor.
a sec.
I'm not a child. I'm not related to these people.
I just said to you, you were being fresh. How old are you?
65.
How old are you?
25.
That's fresh. That's fresh, because first you accused her of locking you out.
I didn't accuse her.
Yeah. Okay. So after she slapped you, the police arrived, they left. She said, she slapped you, yes. You have marks, you have cuts, you have bruises, you have abrasions. No, they left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did you expect when you called the police for them to arrest her? What did you want them to do, sir?
Was I supposed to retaliate? How was I supposed to retaliate? Was I supposed to hit her back?
Just a second, no.
Okay, then what was I supposed to do?
I'm not telling you what to do.
Okay.
I'm just asking you, sir, did you expect them, when you called the police, to arrest Kathleen because she slapped you?
No, I expected there to be consequences for her assaulting me.
What? So
I don't know what
did
the
you think?
consequences
So
were.
what did you think that they should do?
Whatever they feel was right. Whatever is justice.
Okay. Now let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
So now the police are gone, and
I go speak to Armando. I asked why he sacrificed his integrity for lying for Kathleen, for saying that she didn't slap him, because he told the police he witnessed no such event. He didn't see nothing, even though he was standing right there, grabbed her hand. Kathleen says she didn't do it. And the police came up to me before they left. They said, they're telling me something else. I just straight up, I just don't believe you. I just like, okay, well, what else can I do? I go to Armando and I'm like, why would you sacrifice your integrity? Why would you lie to the police? Why would you let another roommate physically assault me and just no consequences whatsoever? And at that point is when I tried to bring my dog inside and just go straight to my room.
Just a second. So at that time, after this hot spot is over,
it got heated again.
Got heated again.
Mm-hmm.
Your reaction was childish, and you said, I'm going to get my dog that I was told not to bring in the house, and I'm going to bring my dog in the house.
I was going to my...
Just a second. I don't care if you were going to Pluto. Your reaction after this was the dog to the house, but the dog can't come in the house, stays outside with his dogs. There's only one animal in the house, and that's Kathleen's house cat. That's it. So you went to bring your dog from outside to in the house.
Yes, Your Honor.
In violation of the agreement that you had with your landlord. After the police had come, I just want you to realize what's going on.
Oh,
You know, I just want you to realize that they don't actually keep me here because I'm 5'6" and gorgeous. I understand what happened when you were disappointed that Kathleen had slapped you like a child because you were fresh. And she's not your mother, and she had no right, even your mother doesn't have a right to put their hands on you.
Correct.
But you got slapped, not injured, no broken jaw, no broken skin. Police didn't see anything, because if they did, they would have arrested somebody. And they left. And you were royally miffed. Because you got locked out of the house, for which you apologized, you missed your time-sensitive video game. Now, I'm not sure what that is, because I'm not a 25-year-old idiot that plays video games during the day.
Armando Rodriguez is accusing his former roommate, Samuel Gastelum, of breaking their rental agreement and assaulting him. Samuel claims he was falsely arrested after Armando lied to the police.
Now, several things had happened that day, right? You got locked out and you were playing a time-sensitive video game.
Yes, Your Honor.
And because you got locked out of the house, for which you apologized, you missed your time-sensitive video game. Now, I'm not sure what that is, because I'm not a 25-year-old idiot that plays video games during the day. When I was 25 years old, I actually worked. I did. I actually worked.
I know that may seem foreign to you, but I did actually work. And so after all of this altercation took place, you said, now I'm going to show him. Now I'm going to bring my dog into the house. And then there was another altercation. Second one.
Yes.
That's the one we're talking about. By the way, maybe I'm being terribly unkind to you, sir. How do you support yourself?
I work.
For whom?
Pretty foreign, I know.
For whom?
I'm a cultivator.
You work 5 days a week?
Yes, Your Honor. And in my free March, so about 5 months.
Prior to that, you were in Alaska.
Prior to January, I was in Alaska. Before March, before getting the job at the cultivation facility for cannabis, I was helping my uncles do concrete. So working isn't very foreign to me, as you might see.
Prior to March, you were working with your uncles in concrete.
Yes,
Where?
Your Honor. In Victorville, in California.
You were working, you were working for your uncle prior to March, getting a job as a cultivator. And what I want to know is, how long had you been separated from your emotional support dog?
I spent 4 months away from him, and those 4 months were from January to April.
January, February, March, April. And what were you doing in Alaska?
I was born and raised in Alaska.
Alaska is not a born, that's not a job, sir. What were you doing in Alaska?
I was, for the last 6 months of my time in Alaska, I was a bud tender.
Okay, tell me what happened after the dog incident.
Well, the dog comes in. He says that he's not going to follow house rules anymore. He says as of right now, he's going to do what he wants to do. So he just gets the dog from the backyard and he comes inside the house. And I feel that it's my responsibility to enforce the house rules. So I physically grab his dog and I move the dog from inside the house to the backyard. That happens once. He gets the dog and then he physically puts him back in the house.
Where in the house?
This is, you could say, the kitchen area. So now I basically attempt to repeat what I did the first time. So I physically grab the dog a second time, and I'm now physically taking him out, at which point he gets from behind me, and he puts me into a chokehold, and I black out. I come to, I look for my phone, I find my phone, dial 911, police show up like in maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm still trying to get...
And that's the assault that you are referring to today. Did the EMS check you out?
I was taken to the hospital.
May I see the report?
Yeah, I got a report, and then I have the bills associated with with.
Was Kathleen a witness to this?
She saw.
No,
like,
don't tell me what she saw. Was she a witness to any part of that? Yes or a no?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you step up, please?
Or arguing about the dog.
The first time or the second time? Well, you don't know whether.
I don't really know.
Were you a witness to any of the physical confrontation that resulted in Mr. Rodriguez going to the hospital?
I knew that they...
Don't tell me what you knew.
Okay.
It's what you saw.
Okay, what I saw was Armando trying to put the dog back outside, because he's a big pit bull, right? And then he would put him out, and then Samuel would bring him back in. And then the last time, Armando was putting him back outside, and Samuel came behind Armando. And what I did was I left and went and called the police, because I was afraid he was going to get hurt.
All right, sir. Now tell me your version of those events.
Could I show her statement from the previous court?
No, I want you to first tell me your version of the events.
So I let Apollo inside. My dog's name is Apollo, and he's going to grab Apollo to let him out. And we're both kind of grabbing Apollo, pulling him, we're both kind of fighting over him a little bit. As I'm pulling him inside more, Armando starts grabbing me. And so we get into this altercation, and we're like wrestling back and forth.
Just a second. He's trying to get your pit bull outside, and at the same time he's grabbing you? Is that the...
No, it was, we were both grabbing the dog.
So you were trying to keep the dog inside, and he was trying to put the dog outside?
I was trying to take him to my room, yes. Take him.
You were trying to take him to your room. He was trying to put him outside.
Yes.
And?
As we're both kind of fighting for the dog, he grabs me. He lets go of the dog and then grabs me.
How did he grab you?
He grabs me by the arm, and then he like starts tugging a little bit. And so we're wrestling. We just start wrestling, and it gets a little bit more violent. And I go to restrain him, and he's hitting me. He's hitting me from with his arms. He's trying to scratch me, and I just restrained him until I felt not threatened no more. I released him. I get up. I grab my dog. I go to the room. And I call the police.
Mm-hmm. Do you have your medical records that day?
They would not take me. They didn't.
Not they would not take you. Do you have your medical records for that day?
I have my arrest report that says apparently they didn't.
May I see the arrest report, please?
They refused to take pictures.
Don't tell me what they didn't do. I can read. Do you have medical insurance, sir?
No.
None. Okay, so you had an emergency room CT scan that was $8,640.62. The other bill for that day, room, which was $1,109. Okay, well, that takes us over this court's limit jurisdictionally. Now, you, sir, subsequently had a hearing with regard to this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you testify, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you testify, sir?
I did.
At the end of that hearing, was there a restraining order granted or not?
It was granted.
For how long? Do you have a copy of that?
I have a copy.
It was a year.
So a judge, like me, probably not as good looking, after hearing, so I don't have to hear it, all of the evidence, the judge found that there was more evidence than not that you assaulted the plaintiff and granted the plaintiff an order of protection for 1 year. After that happened, you were still in the house.
After the assault or after the hearing?
After the assault.
After the assault, I was arrested and
then you
taken to
came
jail
back
for
to the
5
house.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what I asked. You were still in the house, but
Yeah.
you're no longer in the house.
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
He's a liar, and I told the truth, and I won the case.
I didn't aggressively attack him.
That was the rules that I had set. My dogs don't even come in the house.
I defended myself and my dog.
I think there was some genuine confusion on the defendant's behalf about the term fresh.
When I said to him, you were fresh to an older person?
Exactly. You know, he had a little bit of an attitude, a little young gun attitude, and the older woman did not appreciate it. So I am very familiar with the term fresh, but I think he was a little confused, but 100% fits the definition of fresh.
It was interesting. The other thing was I didn't seem appalled at the fact that he was doing time-sensitive video games, because I actually understand that from some of our grandchildren.
They take the games very seriously.
Very seriously.
And I could see how missing out on a time-sensitive game could raise an even heated moment even hotter. So.
Especially someone who needs an emotional support pit bull.
Want justice? Go.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chiếc xe cảnh sát nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Đầu tiên xin chào tất cả các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chiếc ủng chứa đầy bông hoa và một chú ốc sên ở trên nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Lá màu xanh. Hoa màu vàng. Tô màu tím ở trước cùng. Màu nâu quên mất.
Hi, xin chào tất cả các bạn. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú ngựa nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Cây mình sẽ tông màu xanh.
Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một bé gái đang làm bánh nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Màu hồng cho bánh.
Không đi. Mày ngồi cho nhà bà em một đi.
Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh chú gấu Pooh nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Tô màu đỏ cho áo của chú gấu.
xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về một bông hoa nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ tô màu này cho cánh hoa.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh cô nàng Shizuka nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình tô màu đen vào tóc. Tơ màu hồng à.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú ốc sên nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ tô màu cam vào đây.
Cái này sao? Vâng. Nào có đi không? Mày đưa đi. Này thằng nào đi được phòng bố.
xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh nàng tiên cá Ariel nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ vẽ tóc công chúa màu đỏ.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh ba bạn nhỏ đang chơi bóng nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ tô tóc màu đen. tô cho tóc bạn này. Sắp rùa, trời ơi. Không. Áo bạn nam màu xanh nước biển.
Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú mèo đang nằm trên hàng rào nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ tô cái hàng rào này màu nâu.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh hai bạn nhỏ, bạn nữ đang dìu bạn nam đang gãy chân nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Sẽ tô màu đen vào tóc của bạn nam. Tóc bạn nữ có màu đen. Sẽ tô màu xanh và áo bạn nam.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú thỏ đang đứng cạnh một bông hoa nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Tô màu này. Và bông hoa. Tô màu này vào cuốn. Lá và chiếc tô màu này. Sẽ lấy màu xám tô cho chữ thọ. Tô màu xanh và cỏ.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh 4 bạn nhỏ đang chơi thẻ bài nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ tô tóc màu đen. Tóc bạn này có màu đen. Tông màu tím và áo của cô bé này. Này và áo của bạn này.
Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú thỏ đang đứng cạnh những cây cà rốt nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.
Mình sẽ tô lá cà rốt màu xanh. tô màu hồng vào đây. Mình tô màu cam và cà rốt. Chú thỏ này màu xám.